Okay, so let's start with, there were so many brilliant performances out there. I'd like to point out 17 of them. Let's not go there, okay? It's the first day. We were out there for an hour. Essentially, just so you know where we're at, see this card? This card's got numbers on it, jersey numbers. I'm trying to figure out who's got what jersey on, okay? So you can imagine where I'm at after day one. So, having said that, let's have a conversation that bears that in mind. Let's go. What number is he? Oh, he's 2? Okay. Well, then I guess he was good. Yeah, state your name, where you're from. Obviously, you got your Canes hat on today. We get it.
Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Matt. Very professional. Well done.
Some of us do it right.
Maybe you guys should take some cues from Matt.
Yeah, Cobble. Wear a better hat next time. Why the decision to have a shorter workout today?
Well, I think this is all about acclimatization, right? We're going to have 7 days where you have to acclimatize your football team. So we felt like the data that we have compiled over the last 3 years relative to short-term soft tissue injuries, we wanted to be able to increase the player load each and every day. So we'll go from 12 to 16 to 18 to 20. We'll go 4 days, we'll have a day off. We'll go 3 days and have a day off. So within that first 7 is the highest incident for soft tissue injuries. We want to make sure that we get through these 7 days acclimatized without any soft tissue injuries and 2 recovery days. So then we can get into really 2 weeks of camp and, obviously game week prep. We'll have 3 weeks to duplicate our process.
Coach over here.
Yes, sir.
You talked about all the new numbers, all the new players. You've got about 50% new players on the team this year from the portal, recruiting, red shirt, all of that. Where are you at with the pulse of this team right now, and how easy will it be to get to where you want to be in 3 or 4 weeks?
Yeah. Well, if we were putting the team together for the first time today, I'd be nervous. I really would. But we've been doing this for 7 months with this group. So 7 months of observation, 7 months of leadership development, 7 months of working physically and technically and tactically and bringing this together. I feel really good about the football team that we put out on the field in 3.5, 4 weeks. But again, I would say that this has been an ongoing process that started back in January. And we've seen the things that need to happen relative to a team caring about each other, being on time, playing with a passion and effort, and certainly holding each other to a high standard. I love what I've seen about this football team and feel that's why I've been bullish on our team. Now we got to go play. You got to go win the games and execute when you need to execute, but I like where we're at.
Yeah, Ron Higgins, Shreveport Bossier Journal. In the past 10 years, have you seen a college staff kind of adapt to it like an NFL type organization? I mean, put a premium on hiring player personnel people. There has to be a drastic change from 10 years ago for you.
I think it's a great question. And I would say that I would probably say 5 years ago. And it's accelerated as fast as any component in college football. I'm here. That to me is what college football is about, right? It's not about, do you have the resources? It's about adapting to the current trends that we're confronted with. And in particular, this instance where you now have revenue sharing, which requires contracts, which requires lawyers and agents, which then you respond in kind by, adding those that can interface on a day-to-day basis with them. I can't do all that. It's impossible. Can I be in the center of it? Can it be centralized around me? Yes. But then I have to have others that can go and execute those conversations and the things necessary to adapt to college football today.
Hey, Coach, up to you, right? When you go through fall camp 3 different times here and you don't get the result you want in the season opener, how do you approach this camp differently to get that different result in game 1?
I'll go back to January. What's happened since January is the response to your question. If you're just reacting to not having a win in the opener, to feeding them chicken wings instead of steak, then you're reacting in a manner that doesn't give you an opportunity to be successful. We've addressed this in January. We addressed it with the guys that we brought in. We addressed it in the way we trained our football team. We addressed it in spring ball and then into our off season. And again, we've made it pretty known, what our goal is. And our goal is to go 1-0. And so if there's anything that is slightly different from in years past, it's that we were so much more intentional about getting to August 31st in January. And that focus has remained the same for the last 7.5 months.
Michael Cobble, WBRZ TV.
Michael, great to have you here today.
Happy to be here, Coach.
How did you hit a fishing limit this morning and you were
did.
able to get out?
We did. We limited out. It was the redfish are biting. When we were outside, Whit was barking to Devon. How good is it to have he and Harold back at practice? And what are you seeing from them physically and as far as a leadership role, I guess?
Presence, right? Presence. I think we all can, appreciate that it's day one and, we're trying to feel ourselves, a little bit in terms of, getting our feet in the ground and playing football. But presence is impactful, right? They're, you see them, you feel them, you hear them. And so when somebody's not around in a room, you can kind of feel the temperature change a little bit. The temperature is a little bit different when those two guys are in the room. And so, people talk about missing somebody. It's hard to replace great players, but it's even harder to replace, great leaders. And those guys lead by example and make a huge difference.
Coach, right here to your right, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick, KATC in Lafayette. Dominic McKinley comes back for his sophomore year. Looks like he had a really good offseason.
Yes.
How excited are you for what he can do for the defensive line?
Well, he's forced our athletic development staff, our training staff, athletic training and weight training. We ran out of weights for him to max squat. He was 650 pounds max squat. And so I just throw that out to you as how powerful he is. And he's such a great kid. He's so grounded. He wants to get better every single day. And he has elite, strength and numbers from that perspective. So, yeah, he's going to play a major role in what we do. He's still learning. Coach Williams has got him with him right on his hip every day. But he's enjoyable to coach.
Yeah, Coach, right up here. Just second year in a row now you return most of your coaching staff. The one position change, obviously, with Kyle Williams there on the defensive line. But just having that continuity with your staff now for a second straight off season, what were kind of the conversations like this summer about how you wanted to approach the start of fall camp to really hit the ground running with this group when you're implementing so many new players to this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, year two, build some continuity, but I think it's a comfort level with the individuals in themselves. Like, Joe doesn't have to go out and prove anything. Cortez doesn't have to prove anything. Just be who you are, right? I mean, first year you're kind of, I got to do this, I got to do that. I think there's a lot more comfort in terms of just doing their jobs. And then Blake, obviously, getting him some tools, where he can go be Blake Baker, and call the defense the way he wants to. And so, we address those things in the offseason. Again, we come to camp, so it's like, okay, everything starts today. But, we're in the last lap of this, and so a lot of this work has been, things that we've been intentional on for the last 7.5 months. But I would say comfort level and just, giving them the tools to just go do your job. You don't have to do any more than that.
Chessa Boucher with NBC 33 here in Baton Rouge. This wide receiving core, I don't feel like it's gotten a ton of attention, especially from the veterans that you return, the younger guys, and the transfers. Do you feel like they've had enough attention or have kind of the hype that should be surrounding them?
I mean, we're too deep in a swing, maybe two swings in terms of, I'm talking about 8 receivers. We have 8 SEC high caliber receivers. These guys are really good football players. And so it's incumbent upon us to put them in a position to succeed for themselves and for our team. I think that's the biggest management right now is doing that. And then being smart, right? And when you have that kind of depth, you can lessen the player load for these guys across the board and keep them fresh. And so what we've told them is it's 1A, 1B. I mean, and we're going to be rolling guys in and out, but I would be less than honest if I didn't say it's as deep as I've ever had. Now we got to go play.
Coach, speaking of that receiver room, how's Nick Anderson? He was dressed today, but didn't participate in the 11-on-11s.
Yeah, we kept him out of contact today. He had gone through our concussion protocol. He got into a little fender bender, and so we wanted to make sure. So he's cleared our concussion protocol. So today was his day of non-contact. He'll be able to get into 11-on-11, 7-on-7 tomorrow.
Hey there, Coach. Brett Martell with Associated Press. With Garrett, what areas of growth would you say you feel comfortable forecasting at this point? And do you expect it to be more mental than physical, or a combination of both?
I think we've documented some of the things that he needs to be better at, and that is, his worst play needs to be 0. And that's okay. 0 is okay. We can live with 0. What we can't live with is, catastrophic mistakes. And I think you have to live through that to know what your limits are, right? And so I think he knows what those limits are in terms of, managing a bad play and making it 0. I think that's experience. I think physically he's taking care of his body, so he understands that, he ran 21.4 miles per hour. I mean, that's high 4.5s. He can run. So I think he clearly understands that when the opportunity arises, that he can take off and be an effective runner. So I think that's the growth. And then just the technical things, right? I mean, on-time throws, never turn down a profit, meaning if there's a check down, check it down. It doesn't have to always be down the field. So I think that's experience. I think some of it's technical. And I think he's in a great position to do that.
Hey, Brian, Corey Diaz with the Daily Advertiser. For the offensive line, how much do you guys sort of map out, maybe say the first 2 or so weeks of preseason practice and just kind of maybe some benchmarks that you want to see them hit in order for you guys to feel as comfortable as possible with that group?
I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. Like, are you asking that the 5 guys that started today, is that the 5 that's going to play against Clemson?
Not necessarily. Just, what's the work that you guys want to see from them over the course of the first couple of weeks?
Well, we're still competing for positions, right? You saw what we did. Braylon Moore moved into the center position. DJ Chester moved to left guard, so you guys can figure that one out. But DJ is going to compete, with Paul. And on the right side, Josh is going to compete with Colin Eccles. That's competition. Karis Kern is going to push Tyree. Bordelon's going to push Weston Davis. I think that, those are pretty much, what you should be seeing and how that will move. There'll be some times that maybe DJ, slides in at center. We got a guy that played 13 games at center. Let's keep him sharp. So I think you'll see some moving around there, but there's competitive battles right now on that offensive line. So we have to evaluate them as a group at 5, and then individually who makes up that best five. So I think you'll see some of that happen over the next couple of weeks.
Hey, Coach. John Sokoloff, WGNO in New Orleans. You were talking about the O-line. Tyree Adams, one of those guys you said is going to get pushed at that left tackle position. What do you kind of think of his potential, with this team for an O-line that obviously has to replace a couple of big tackles from the last few seasons?
I mean, right now he's penciled in as the starting left tackle, but we're going to let a freshman go beat him out and give him an opportunity to do that. Look, I think his growth has been immense. His maturity, his physical development. I think we all saw him play a really good game against an elite pass rusher in Baylor. So we've seen him play, too. And so if you add what he's done in the offseason, the way he's led, the confidence that he plays with, I think we are in store for some great things from him.
We talked a little bit about the receivers today. What do you think you have in place, maybe with the vertical passing game, to unlock more of that part of your offense? Do you like the state of where that is with your offense?
Well, I mean, we've got guys that can run. Chris Hilton is healthy. He's had a great offseason. You saw him at media day at his chattiest. I mean, that was a new form for Chris. I was proud of him, the way he stepped outside his comfort zone. So there is a carryover, right? When you are handling yourself that way and you've never been that way, you become more assertive as a player. He's much more assertive as a player as well. It's a great, obviously mirroring of who he is. And then Barry and Brown. I mean, you got two guys that can play that X position that can run past anybody, whether it's a go, a post, a dig, and that is an incredible weapon. And it allows us, as I said earlier, is to lower the player load. They're A and B, right? They're going to get a lot of touches and a lot of snaps. And then you add Aaron Anderson, who's the ultimate playmaker. We have to be careful with all of our players, but, we want to keep Aaron ready for Saturdays, too. And so you got Kyle Parker, who I am really high on, and I think he's going to have an incredible year. But now you can add Kyle Parker to the slot. And then into the boundary, you got Xavion, you've got Nick Anderson. You've got some depth there. But the real deal here is that we're going to get over the top of a lot of defenses with those two guys. Great, thank you. Appreciate it. Listen, that was my splitter. I carry a splitter, a changeup, and a four-seamer. So and listen, it's not fair because you got Milan throwing 92. I've thrown out the first pitch at Fenway. I've thrown out the first pitch at Wrigley, at Great America. This was an all-time. That was big for me. I was nervous, so you can understand. Thanks.